Well, in talking about the twins and in the time of after the Sky Woman had fallen and that the animals, they had placed her on the turtle's back and even after her giving birth to her daughter when they first came here and when the earth was, when it was really new and that the Sky Woman, she had placed a foundation on the turtle's back and for it to be become what it is today. And her daughter grew fast. They say. They said that the sky people, they kind of like grow fast. But in that time, the daughter, there was a spirit that had come to her during the night while she was sleeping and had given her a dream. And upon leaving, that spirit had placed 2 arrows and had placed those 2 arrows on her stomach. And one arrow was nice and straight and it looked really nicely made. And the second arrow wasn't so nice, it wasn't so straight, it was crooked. So it was like a person didn't really put the time and effort in making this arrow. So when he left, he placed those arrows on that daughter's stomach, and he had crossed them. Now, after that time, the grandmother, or the mother, Sky Woman, she had noticed the changes in her daughter. And those changes were a thing that a woman would go through after she's been pregnant. So all the mood changes and whatnot, and the obvious, the growth of her belly. And so the mother was kind of concerned about that because it was only them 2 at the time. There was no men. So the daughter had told her mother that she had a dream and that there was a spirit that had come to her. And that those arrows represented these twins, these babies. And what they were going to be when they grew up. So even then, when they were in the womb of the daughter, there was always a conflict between the two babies. And one was always kicking the other, and they were always fighting for space inside the mother's belly. And the mother had taken notice of that, and she often wondered, what's going to become of these babies. And when it was time for them to be born, the one baby, and we say that the one that I guess that represented that arrow that was kind of crooked and whatnot was kind of like the bad twin, and the arrow that was straight and narrow represented the good baby. And so the bad baby often told his brother while they were inside the womb is that he couldn't wait to to be born. And he was always anxious to get out. And whereas the good baby, he was always, content and was always ready, whenever it was time to be born. So he didn't have a big problem with that. So when it was time for those babies to be born, the one baby, the good baby, he came out the natural. He was birthed through the natural way. And the other twin, while the baby was being born the natural way, the other one was really, he just wanted to be out. And so he forced himself, he couldn't wait for his brother, so he forced himself through his mother's side, through her armpit, near her armpit. And so both babies were born pretty much at the same time. But by doing what the bad twin did, by him forcing himself out his mother's side, he killed her. And from that time on, these two brothers were always fighting. And at that time, the mother, or Sky Woman, she had come and noticed that her daughter had died during birth. But she didn't die of natural causes, that one of the babies had killed its mother, or his mother. And so, right away, the grandmother, or Sky Woman, she asked those twins, who had killed their mother. And the bad twin, he said, my brother killed her, meaning it was the good twin. And so the grandmother, blamed him for killing her daughter. And she always, from that time on, she always, treated them differently. So the bad twin was always getting the praise, while the good twin, he was always getting hollered at and whatnot. So anyways, these babies, they were born with special gifts. And when that spirit had placed those arrows on their mother's belly, they were given instructions. And so the one twin, even before that, after the grandmother had, blamed the good twin for killing his mother, the two twins then actually, they fought, and they were blaming each other of who killed their mother. And so when the good twin, he actually buried his mother. And when they buried her, or when he buried her, there was the different plants that had grew from her grave. And they say it was the things that we sustain ourselves with nowadays. I can't even say nowadays, there's hardly people that use these things or grow anymore. Probably more often now than the past 5-10 years or so. But the things that grew from her body was the corn, the beans, the squash, and the two plants that she had brought, that the grandmother had brought from the sky world. So they said the tobacco and the strawberries. So sacred foods, because those were the first foods that were given to us from our Creator. So all that while, as they were growing up, the grandmother or the Sky Woman, she always put down the good twin, the good twin, and he got really mad about that, and he always resented his brother for blaming him, and his grandmother for blaming him for the death of his mother. And it got to a point where he got so mad that, and this, there's different versions, there's so many different stories of this creation story, and this is just one version, and a version that I've heard, and that good twin, he got so upset with his grandmother, is that he kind of dismembered her body. He beheaded her and just kind of tore her body up in different pieces. And he was so angry that he took his grandmother's head, and he threw it. And he threw it in the air. And they say that's what became the moon. And he threw the rest of her body up. And they say that's what became the stars. So there's that, again, that connection with the moon being our grandmother, and the stars. Now with the stars, this is another thing that, I guess some may have a belief with the stars. And before we're all born, they say our spirit is sent to the stars. And the Creator has given the stars the ability to give our spirits the instructions that were given to us when we're born here on earth. So before our spirit comes here to earth in our physical body, they say our spirit spends time with the stars. And that's where we're given all of our gifts. And right before that, when our mothers give birth to us, they said there's a certain time right before the baby comes out is when that spirit comes to the physical body. So that spirit is given a home, they say. And so at that time, when that baby opens its eyes, they say that spirit then makes the physical body alive then. And so that's how the stars become really important for us and for our ceremonies. All of our ancestors, they were able to read what the stars meant. There was different things. There's seasons, and our ceremonies go by our stars. And then with the moon, with that being connected with the stars because of our grandmother, she was given that responsibility of the female life, the female side of life. So she's the one that takes care of the women and their cycles. She's the one that takes care of the waters on the earth. And so the Creator at that time, when he did that, or the good twin, so we have Indian names for our good twin and our bad twin. And most times we are told that these names in our language were never to use, but we use them. And most times when they're used is when we have our ceremony for our Gully Wee or the Coat of Handsome Lake. That's when most of these names are being, and when we say, when we're doing our tobacco burnings, when we're doing our Thanksgivings, our ceremonies, and this is true for all the 5 nations, is that we have our word for creator, Sungwayat Dizo. And if we break that word down, Sungwayat Dizo, there's 3 parts to it, 3 parts of it. The first part being Sungwa, and that's just a part of, not a particle, but a prefix, meaning what he is to us. So it's a male person, and he's acting on all of us, the rest of us. We could say all of us here in this room, all of us here in this whole building, all of us in the Oneida Reservation. So it's him to us. Next part of that word is, that comes into it is Oyada. Oyada, and that's the body, the human body. And the last part of it is like, if we were to say Guni, Gunihe, Zuni. So that's a word for to make, for me to make, Guni. So when you come down to it, it doesn't mean just creator, but it's he to us, body and make. So he makes our bodies is what it translates out to, but our creator in terms so that everybody can understand of who this person is. So Sungwayat Dizo, he's our maker. So that name is used a lot in our ceremonies, in our tobacco burnings, and so on. So now his brother, again, and a lot of times for that word Sungwayat Dizo in our ceremonies, he's referred to in a different way also, and that's the part where we say that we don't usually use freely, because it's kind of like you just wouldn't use it in everyday language. But same goes with his brother, and like I said, a lot of times when it's used and when his name is said, it's said in the Gully Wee, and his name is Sagohlewat, Sagohlewata, and that again, the Sago is, him to them, so he acts on them, and the rest of the word Sagohlewat, so Liwat, that's what they're saying is that he punishes them. And when they talk about the Punisher in the Gully Wee, when they talk about him in that, it's exactly what it says, is that he punishes the people that have, that they didn't, the people that didn't do what they were supposed to be doing while here on earth. So when we talk about the Gully Weed, it talks about how we should be as a person, how we should be to other people, and not to disrupt life as it should be. And if we don't do those things, then they say when we pass on, our spirit goes to Sagohliwat, or the Punisher. So like the Creator, in English terms, we call him the Creator. In English terms, we call, or I guess you could call him the Devil too, but in, I guess, more way of thinking, in our ways, we call him the Punisher. So that then becomes a part of that story. Then during the creation, is that these two become, well, they don't become, but they try to outdo each other. So with our Creator, from that time when he did away with his grandmother, he started going around and walking on the earth, and the earth at that time was very young. He started to create things, a lot of the things that we see, the streams, the creeks, lakes, the different animals, plants, medicines, foods, birds. So all kind of things that we talk about in our Thanksgiving address, the things that we all give thanks to, we say that the Creator has placed them here on earth for us. So while he was doing that, his brother would come behind him and try to ruin the things that he created, or he tried to create the things that his brother tried to make. So we say the Creator had made flowers with the rose. His brother came behind him and put thorns on the flowers. The Creator had made these real nice streams, and his brother come behind him and put these rocks in there and high flowing water to make the rapids. Made the different animals, the Creator had made different animals, and his brother came behind him and tried to attempt to create the same things he did, but they never turned out. They say all the animals that you see on the other side of the earth, they say like in Africa, you see a lot of different animals over there. They said that the bad twin, all those animals that you see like that were his attempts to create the same things his brothers did, or that his brother did. And they didn't turn out quite the same. And they say the things that these big monsters that we used to have long time ago, thousands and millions of years ago, they said that the bad twin was the one that created those, and we know them as dinosaurs now. So there's different attempts by the bad twin to create all things that his brother, but they kind of faltered. And so some of the things that we see today are some of his attempts to create what his brother has, but they always never came out. So when it came down to the last part, the last thing for the Creator to make was then a human. And he made the human from the earth. So he made this body of a person out of the earth. And they said when he finished that, or finished sculpting that person, that human, he said he gave him 3 breaths. And on that 3rd breath, that human came to life. And so from that time on, then he said that these people that he made from the earth were his children, the ones that he created. But he said that that each person that he created, he would give them instructions in how they should be. So again, his brother, the bad twin, he went ahead and tried to create the same thing, but it never came out. And they said that his first try, he said he did the same thing, blew into it 3 times, but this beam was a little bit shorter and it was slumped over and it had hair all over his body, and once in a while he walked on his hind legs, but he walked on all 4s. So they say that he when he attempted to make a human, it was a monkey. And there's different variations of monkeys that he had created. You know, there's the chimpanzee, the ape, and all those. They said those were the bad twins' attempts on making a human. They didn't turn out. So this whole battle of who created who and who created what, you know, became a whole competition between these twins all the way through up until making the humans. And the creator too had made, you know, other human beings. They said he took the foam that you see like in bigger waters from the ocean. There's a white foam that gathers. And he said he took that foam and he constructed another human from that foam and gave it life. And he said that those are our white brothers. And he said he gave them the same instructions that he gave the people that was made from the earth. But because his brother was nearby, the bad twin, he kind of interrupted with that, and he gave him different instructions. And so the creator had went on and made, you know, 2 other races and did the same thing. He gave them the original instructions on how we should be to each other, but his brother came right behind them and kind of faltered all that. So that's where the different races came in. So we were all made, and we were all made the same, but it was the mind that was changed from the bad twin. So as time went on, after all of that, our creator had become really angered by his brother. And so they both decided that they were going to have these contests. And whoever was the winners of these contests then would have the right to say that they were the rightful creator of everything. So they had agreed upon some things that they were going to do, that they were going to compete against each other. And they said this is where one of our main things that we do at our ceremony for midwinters is a peachstone game. they said this game is probably one of the oldest, or is the oldest games that we have today, and that we still play in our ceremonies yet, is the peach stone game. They said that was one of the first games that they played. And they said they played it for 4 days, and back and forth, and there was never a winner. So they decided to move on and to play another game, and it was the game of lacrosse. So the creator had made this game to compete against his brother, and because he thought that he was the creator of this game, that he'd be able to beat his brother. But his brother was just as good at this game than he was. And so, again, they played this game for 4 days. It was kind of a brutal game, and they beat up on each other for 4 days with this lacrosse game, and there was no winner. So they decided to move on to the next thing that they were going to compete with, and they were just going to come out and fight. And so again, for 4 days, they fought. And on the last day, the creator was able to defeat his brother. His evil twin brother he was able to beat. And so he made this raft, and he put his brother's body on that raft, and they said they put him on the big water and sent him across this water. And so we call it, an ocean, one of the oceans. And he sent him across that. And wherever that raft took him, he said that his brother would be kind of like in control of that, of wherever he went. So at that time then, the creator was the main person. He was the original creator of everything, and that we're the ones that here on earth now that we call Shemaiah Diesel, and he's the one that we give thanks to for everything that we have. And I'm not saying like the cars and boats and all that stuff, but it's the stuff that he has placed here for us to be able to survive on. Everything that we give thanks for, that he had placed here for us on earth. So all the animals, trees, the medicines, our mother, the earth. So all those things that we mentioned in our Thanksgiving address, that's what we give thanks for. So the end of the story, we say then that the earth is it's separated. There's two halves of the earth. There's a day side and then there's a night side. And then we say that our ancestors told us that the day side of the earth, they say that side of the earth is overseen by our Creator. And the nighttime side of the earth is overseen by the evil twin, or the bad twin, and he's the one that oversees the dark side of the earth. And that's why I even remember my grandmother always telling us never to play outside at dark time. And we often wondered why. My grandmother was a Christian back then, but they still believed in some of the older ways, and that was one of the reasons why. She said bad things can happen to you at nighttime if you're outside playing. And and she was a firm believer in that. And she always told us that you can get hurt while you're outside, playing or whatever. So there's very few often times where we'd be outside at nighttime playing. Some people still tell their kids that today. I know I tell my boys that, today, that don't be outside during dark time. I don't think they would anyway, but just some of those things that, like in my grandmother's time, in my great grandmother's and grandfather's time, a lot of those stories were here about the nighttime and daytime. And so, this is just a real short version of these twins in our creation story. But there's a lot of things that go along with that too. When we talk about health, mental health, and we always say that there's a good side and a bad side of everybody, but to have that balance. And to have that balance is a difficult thing for anybody. And a lot of times we say that, especially like for our ceremonies, when we're doing our ceremonies, it's often told to us that, you get up early, you get up, wash your face, eat breakfast, do what you gotta do, and you be at the longhouse, and you be there early to help out if anything needs to be cleaned up and whatnot. And you're kind of working for the Creator, to make sure that the ceremonies are conducted. But there's other times too where the other side, you'd be laying in bed and you don't want to get out of bed, and maybe you get the thoughts of I'll make the next ceremony, or I'll let other people do the work at the longhouse that needs to be done, or I got something else going on and I'll go do that instead of going to ceremonies. So that's the other side, or the negative side of life that kind of creeps into your mind and keeps you from going and doing the stuff that you were instructed to do as the Creator has given us responsibilities. So there's a real balancing act that you have to do, or that we have to do as people nowadays. There's always the right from wrong, and the things that we do to take care of ourselves and our family. So when we're talking about these twins, they say each and every one of us have both sides. And sometimes when we're out of balance, I don't think I've ever really seen a person that was overly good or overly nice, or I might have seen a couple like that, but very few. But then you have the other side where you got people that just are on the wrong track. They're abusing alcohol and drugs, and they say that that's the easy way of life, is to not deal with problems and work, towards being a good person or whatever. So you get a lot of those unbalances, within our own minds. So we say our mental health, to find that balance, you have to find something within yourself, whether if it is longhouse or your belief system, and finding that higher power, whatever it may be, that can help you find that balance. And when we talk again about, these twins, they say they're always with us, no matter what. One's always there, and they're still always fighting. They're always fighting one another. So these twins are something else. I mean, if you think about it, even in our ceremonies, we always say, when you come into ceremonies, whatever that's troubling you, you're supposed to leave it at the door, outside the door. You come in, you have a clear mind, an open mind. And then if you decide after that ceremony, you can go outside, you can pick that stuff back up. Otherwise you can leave it there and not worry about it anymore. So those are just some things that that I've learned, and that's not a whole lot. There's so much more about the twins that other people are so much more knowledgeable, but I yet have to learn a lot of things myself about the twins. But that's basically it in a nutshell.